Hello everyone, welcome to a video that I've never done before on this channel, but I think now that the season's getting pretty close, it's time to do this, and it will be a 2020 full preview of this year's Dolphins. First of all, I'm in my car recording this, and it's a bit of a rainy day right now, so excuse some of the background noise if that gets in the video. This is kind of a busy weekend for me. This is the only time I really could record. But anyway, so what is this video? Kind of just going over this whole entire Dolphins team. That includes the coaching staff and the whole offense and defense. Just going over every position through in depth and just talking about who they are, what they're kind of about, and then overall at the end I kind of say what I think that will equal into, meaning like how I think their whole roster is going to perform this year, if that wasn't clear when I said that. Okay, so yeah, this will be a bit of a lengthier video, so just all I have to say is sit back, enjoy the video, and here we go. So we'll start with head coach Brian Flores, and I wasn't really right about this guy last year, but I'm happy I wasn't. I didn't necessarily have like bad predictions for him. I just didn't think it was going to be anything super special, and yeah, they only went 5-11 last year, so you could say I was right, I guess, but it was really a nice rally at the end of the season. They finally won in week 9, and then they won 4 games since then, which for the roster that they have, that was pretty good actually, and especially that win in New England to the Patriots, being his former team. So it really put in a lot of momentum and excitement and optimism on this team. And I think he has done a good job at, bringing in a new culture into this team. And I think he's also done good jobs in the offseason with general manager Chris Greer. I think he kind of has a vision on what he wants to do for this year. And I think it'll work. It's kind of a wait and see with him, just because, keep in mind, they still also only won 5 games, but I think this could work. I have a lot of faith in Brian Flores. I think, honestly, the way he's coaching, we will be the closest team to the next New England. Might be a bold call, but I think that's just how it's looking so far, which is exciting for us Dolphin fans. Offensive coordinator, they brought in a new guy, Chan Gailey, who used to work with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he's also coming off of retirement. So, that sometimes brings in a little bit of worry, just because a lot of people that come back from retirement usually aren't that good. And I guess the reason they fired Chad O'Shea is because I guess the offense was just too complicated for the young guys. And yeah, we have a pretty young roster. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is the only person over 30, if I'm not mistaken, on this team. So, I just hope this isn't a way too simple offense for other defenses, but I think it'll be fine. I think he kind of knows what he's doing here, and just like I said, I trust Brian Flores, so I think this will be a good hiring. Same thing with the defensive coordinator, Josh Boyer. He's also new. I'd be kind of lying to you if I said I knew anything about this guy, so I'm just kind of trusting Brian Flores here. But that's it for the coaching staff. It's kind of just a wait-and-see approach for these guys. And like I keep on saying, I do trust Brian Flores, and I think overall it'll work. We'll just have to see. This year will be especially telling with the hard schedule. So anyway, let's move on to the positions here. And then obviously we will start with quarterback, and it is definitely one of the most interesting ones in the league. So we'll start with the presumed starter, Ryan Fitzpatrick. And again, I think he's like the only person over 30, that tells you how young this roster is. But especially to have a veteran quarterback, that's really big, because this team does need a veteran presence. Otherwise, they'll probably buy into the hype too much, like you see with kind of like the Browns last year, or the Texans a little bit. Once they won to the Patriots, they got too hyped up and then got smoked by the Broncos. So it's good to have that veteran presence to keep guys in check. Play like the Patriots is ultimately what they're trying to do. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick, if you want to actually win games and compete this year, he can get the job done. He's not, the top quarterback in the league, but, could you win a Super Bowl under him? Absolutely. Not gonna, pick that to happen, but it certainly could. And if he's playing as a backup, I think he's definitely the best backup in the league. So, not a whole lot of bad you can say about Ryan Fitzpatrick. I feel like last year was his best season, in my opinion. So, we got the very good side of Ryan Fitzpatrick, I guess. Um, and the team just seems to like him, so it's good to have him in here. Then after that, it's a little bit more, I don't know, confusing. I don't know. So we'll go over Josh Rosen, which they're keeping, and I made a video last week on what I think the Dolphins are trying to do with him, so I'm not going to really repeat myself, but it is still a really confusing situation with Rosen. He's just got to prove himself. This is definitely the best team he's got to work with so far, and then even still, there's a few things that could be better on this team, but, no more excuses for this guy. He's honestly just really got to show it. If he goes out there and still doesn't look that good this year, then yeah, it's probably time to just trade him and move on. But it looks like even if he does play well, it's not going to matter because they just drafted Tua Tagovailoa. And they're hoping he can be the franchise quarterback that all the fans are also hoping he can be. I think he can certainly get there. At first I wasn't, super high on Tua, but I've bought into it a little bit. I can kind of understand why they drafted him. And I think it could actually work. I actually like the upside here. I think Tua brings what the Dolphins want in their offense, and I think it'll work. It's just you gotta keep him healthy. I think he should sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for most of the year, and then also, in my opinion, now that you have Rosen, just don't even let Tua play, because I'm not gonna predict we win a Super Bowl this year, so just kind of let Tua sit. Learn under Fitzpatrick, then kind of give Rosen a chance. Now, do I think all this is going to happen? No, but that's just what I would personally do. But quarterback's a very interesting one. It's not even, certain that Fitzpatrick is starting. It's just that's what we're predicting. So anything can happen. But let's move on to another position, running back. Now, the running backs are not like some stellar group or whatever, but they picked up two pretty solid players in Matt Breida and Jordan Howard. I think this is, they're neither of them are like the two running backs that's like, oh, watch out, the defensive coordinators are really circling them, telling their defense, look out for this guy. I mean, well, they might be in like certain formations, but they're not like, no one's gonna put them on like the top 10 running back list, you know what I mean? So like, not like excellent running backs, but it's a very replaceable position. I don't think you need this, like, top-heavy running back to be a good football team. So I do like the pickups here. Kalen Ballage was a player I was pretty embarrassingly wrong about last year. I hope he can prove me wrong this year again, because now my expectations are actually low rather than high. So I still think he can do it, but I'm not really going to predict it. Hopefully, maybe he can get to the level that I thought he was going to be at, but overall it's more about Matt Breida and Jordan Howard, but keep an eye on Kalen Ballage just in case. Wide receiver here is definitely a lot more exciting to talk about though. So you have the two opt-outs, Albert Wilson and Allen Hurns, which sucks, but luckily you still have your top two wide receivers. Devontae Parker is coming back. He finally had that breakout season that everyone was hoping he would have, and they paid him a decent amount of money that he deserves. So I don't want to say decent, it was a lot of money, but anyway, so yeah, Devontae Parker is coming back. I think I'm not really expecting a drop-off here. I think he's actually going to play at the same level he did last year. I don't think last year was a fluke, and I'm not just saying that sitting here hoping it's not a fluke. I really just don't think it was a fluke. I think he'll still play at an elite level, and I think this time, now that the team knows he had a breakout season, now he's going to garner more attention, which maybe you could say is a bad thing because the defense will pay more attention to him, but I think it's also the offense is going to find more ways to get him involved. So I'm expecting more of the same, maybe better, for Devontae Parker. Also, coming back from injury is Preston Williams, who, before he got injured, actually looked like a number one receiver. So you have potentially two number one receivers on this team. That's awesome, and I think that'll really help out with the quarterback situation, because like I said earlier, it's a very tricky quarterback situation, but I think all these receivers will really help out. Now, for slot receiver, you lost Albert Wilson and Allen Hurns, which sucks because they were our two best options there, but do keep an eye on the rest of our depth chart, because it is actually pretty deep at this position. Jakeem Grant is a player that Right now I'm gonna predict he's gonna start in the slot, and I will admit I'm probably sleeping too much on this guy. He is quick, and he's short, which is good for a slot receiver because no one's gonna catch him. He's especially good in special teams. He's kind of like, I feel like he's like our own Tyreek Hill. Like, take that with a grain of salt. I'm not actually saying he's Tyreek Hill, but he's like our own version of him. So keep an eye on Jakeem Grant. If he can stay healthy, I think he'll play a very big part in this offense. And then also keep an eye on Isaiah Ford, who also kind of turned on the Jets last year. He was starting to look pretty valuable as well. So receivers, there's a lot of depth here, and you have really good receivers, especially in your top two. So quarterback's definitely not going to have a hard time throwing the ball, especially also to the tight end, who the starter is going to be Mike Gesicki. I've been saying for a long time to stop sleeping on this guy, and he did prove that last year. It felt like after 2018, everyone kind of gave up on him, and I said, don't do that. Do not give up on this guy. He's going to show his super, like, uber athlete athleticism, and he did. And I think he's going to do that again. Now, I'm a little worried because I've heard Chan Gailey's offense doesn't use tight ends that much, but I do think this team knows how important Mike Gesicki is. So I think they'll still find a way to get him involved. Overall, I'm expecting a better season than last year, which was a good season for him. And then behind him, you have Durham Smythe. They drafted the same year. More to be a blocker because we know Gesicki just can't really block. But overall, tight ends and receivers look good. But then the last position on the offense here is the O-line. And honestly, I don't even know who's starting where, to be honest. Like, they kind of drafted a lot of players that play at a certain position, but it doesn't actually look like they're going to play there. So this is more just my best guess. I'm going to guess left tackle is Julian Davenport, left guard is Eric Flowers, center is Ted Karras, right guard is Michael Dieter, and right tackle is Robert Hunt. If I'm sounding this pessimistic about it, it shows that I am not very high on this O-line, and that's going to be the main thing that I think would bring this offense down, especially for Tua and a quarterback who has some injury problems. So overall, the offense has some pretty nice pieces, but you have question marks at two of the most important positions on the offense, quarterback and O-line. But overall should be solid. I think it'll be kind of in the middle of all the offenses this year, but hopefully we have our quarterback go out there and play lights out, and then we can have a better offense than I'm really projecting here. Then we got to go over the defense. We'll start with the D-line. At DT, defensive tackle, I got Davon Godchaux, who ever since he's been drafted has been playing pretty well, and I'm expecting more of the same from him. And then Christian Wilkins will probably play alongside him. I thought this was a bit of an overrated pickup. He's kind of proving me right, kind of not. He's playing fine right now. I hope he can prove me wrong, though. Overall, not the most impressive DT set, but I think just as long as you have these big guys that can stuff the run, you'll be fine. Now, defensive end is going to be a lot more important, though. And our pass rushers are fine. They brought in Shaq Lawson from Buffalo. Emmanuel Ogbot, not. I know that's kind of what the Patriots do. They don't have these well-known name pass rushers, but I do think that'll be important if you're really trying to get to the quarterback, especially because we play a lot of really good quarterbacks this year. So, we'll see as far as the D-line. It's not the most impressive set, but it does get more impressive after that. Going over the linebackers, we have Jerome Baker, who played very well again, and I think he's going to do more of the same, and especially alongside Raekwon McMillan. Both of these guys have actually played very well ever since they got drafted, and unfortunately Vince Beagle, who was showing some promise last year, got injured, but I guess it's a good thing we signed Kyle Van Noy to not only play as the third starting linebacker, but really to be that, I guess, veteran presence and be kind of the leader on the defense, which this team is going to need. They need someone that can lead their defense, because Ryan Fitzpatrick seems like he's going to lead the offense. Hopefully we can get Rosen and Tua to lead the offense in the future, but for the defense, it looks like that leader is going to be Kyle Van Noy, especially because he's familiar with the Patriots scheme. So I think this linebacker trio is actually a really good linebacker trio, and then it'll be supported by our secondary, which is easily the best position on our team. So let's go over the corners here. Xavier Howard is coming back from injury. When he plays on the field, he looks so good. That's his problem, though, is that he just always gets injured. If he can stay healthy, though, I think he's one of the better corners in the league. He plays a certain type of way. I don't think he's particularly good in zone, but he's a very good man coverage corner. And same thing with our new pickup, Byron Jones. But I think that's why they signed him, is because they play the same way. And I think that's kind of what they want with the Patriots type of defense, is for these two corners to play very good man coverage. And I think you do have probably the best cornerback duo in the league. I'm very excited to see these two play. Even with the depth chart, or maybe if you're starting these guys at nickel corner, you're still pretty good. You have Nick Needham, who showed some potential last year. I think he'll do that again. And then you also drafted Noah Igbenogany. So I think the cornerback room is probably the most impressive in the league, maybe. It's definitely the most impressive on our team, but I do expect some good things from them. And then the last position we have to go over here is safety, which is not as impressive, but it's still solid. You have Eric Rowe, who played pretty well once he switched to safety. I think he'll do even better now that he's playing a full season at safety. And it sounds like they're putting Bobby McCain as the other one alongside Eric Rowe. I think this will work out. McCain's actually a pretty talented, smart player, and I think he's also a pretty good leader on the field. So I'm excited about this. He's a shorter guy, but I think he has actually shown a lot of good flashes throughout his career, and I do think this will actually work out. And they drafted Brandon Jones in the draft. They're hoping he can develop into a good safety as well, and I think he can do that, but that's just a wait and see. Overall, that's kind of it for this team, man. As for the defense, the D-line honestly might be a bit of a problem. It's not the worst set, but it's definitely not the most impressive. Secondary, though, is going to be a lot better, and they definitely did heavily invest in this position, so it should be good. But it'll be okay, and I think that's kind of the story of this team. It's not the worst roster, not the best one either, but I think especially with the hard schedule, you're probably not going to see a playoff Dolphin team, in my opinion. I think they still got a few things they need to rebuild and learn as a young team, but I'm also not completely counting out the possibility of them making the playoffs, because keep in mind, this team is in a division where the Jets are nothing. Like, they kept Adam Gase and Sam Darnold. I'm not expecting anything more from them, no offense. The Bills are very overrated if you've seen their schedule, so I'm not expecting much from them. But the main one is the Patriots. Tom Brady just left, and a lot of the players have either been traded or they're opting out. So while they still have Bill Belichick, this Patriots team probably won't be as good as it used to be. So don't completely count out the Dolphins winning the division this year. Even if it's not pretty, I think it's absolutely possible. But overall, my realistic expectation is that this team will be kind of like the 2019 Cardinals, right? Like, they're on their second year of the rebuild, probably won't make the playoffs, but they'll be a team with promise. And I think by 2021, especially if they do good in the offseason, that'll be when they finally really reach their potential, at least by making the playoffs. But overall, in 2020, it'll be a fun year to watch. I don't think it's going to be, like I said over and over, a playoff season, but it'll be a very fun one to watch. Kind of like the end of last year. So it's just that for the whole season. So that's my predictions. That's my preview on this team. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm just excited for this season to start to see if these predictions end up being right. But yeah, this video was a lot lengthier. I hope you enjoyed. And I guess until next time, guys, fins up.